In 2008, I wish I'd had a book to read to sort through my spiritual wounding and to figure out my identity. There wasn't a book available for me at that time with the issues that were happening in my life. Here's my book that I wrote because of my experience. Who Am I? A Deep Dive Through Spiritual Wounding to Identity by Kara Hudson. And I'm a counselor. So the question is, how in the world do you write a book about spiritual wounding? Because there's so many different nuances attached to this kind of wounding. So I'd like to tell you exactly how it works. I'd like to introduce you to it so you're not scared to read it. And that you're not feeling like it's a bad thing to read. Spiritual wounding is real, and it really impacts identity. And here's how I did it. Chapter 1, is it okay to ask questions? Guess what? My belief system didn't really think it was okay to ask questions. And if you did, there was only one place for you to look, and that was the Bible. The problem was that there was a lot more information around the Bible that would have been helpful for my building my identity way back in my childhood. Number 2, what is my origin story? What were you told about who you are before you could even remember? That's going to make a big difference in how you view yourself and how you view others and what your place is in the world. In this one, we dive into a little bit of attachment theory, and we look at some cognitive behavior therapy, negative cognitions, and what the heck do you do with them? Number 3, how did I become me? This one is, I have to tell the story of my grandmother, who had a very sordid story, and based upon the situations in her life, changed the outcomes of her life. And it's a really profound, tragic story. So she became me because of her ecosystem. So what was her genetic history? What was her family history? What was her family story? What was her religion at the time? What was her education? All of the community, what were all of those things that informed her about who she was? Number 4, what are the building blocks of my story? So now we take a step further from chapter 3. And we don't just look at her genes, but we look at the history, her genetic history. So we're looking back at all the people who came before her, who each donated something and a part of her to herself. We look at religious history. So it's not just what does the Bible say, or what does the Quran say, or what does the Rig Veda say, but what was happening at the outset of that religion. What was the story of that religion, and what was happening in the world as that religion came to be, and how did that change things in your family and family line? Number 5, am I the hero in my life? Now, most religions teach us to be heroes. Yeah, we're supposed to save everybody else. That's what our job is. That's our whole purpose for being here. We're supposed to say yes to everything that is related to our religion or to our family, because if we do that, we're good. And if we don't, then we're bad. Wrong. So I'm going to kind of turn that up on its head, and I'm going to have you take a look at, are you the hero in your life? And are you setting the boundaries that are appropriate for your circumstances? Number 6, am I a human sacrifice? Now here's another big loaded religious theme. We're supposed to sacrifice ourselves as Jesus sacrificed himself. And there's other religions have different stories that are attached to that whole theme of being a sacrifice. So I'm going to delve into the story of child sacrifices in religious history. What is the story of child sacrifices, of religious sacrifices? Does that align with what your values are really? Have you ever thought about this? It's important to think about this, because if you think you're a sacrifice, it's going to change how you see yourself and how you view others. And I dive straight into that. Number 7, who do others say that I am? This one's big. If you're in a community and you're a minority, then you know what I'm talking about. And they're going to put upon you their judgments, and you may carry them like a cloak for the rest of your days. But you don't need to do that. So we're going to take a real quick assessment at who are you really, despite what others might say. And this one's an important one to read. Number 8, am I hiding? Now here we're looking at people who are either clowns or they are invisible in their families, and why. It was necessary to do this, and we're taking a look at why and what you need to do to be able to become fully yourself and not just a reaction or having to self-protect all the time. Number 9, does my life matter? Now we're looking at Those views of only the afterlife matters, this life doesn't matter, and there's a lot of nuance around that as well. I challenge that. I challenge that. And I'm going to let you read the chapter to figure out how I do that. Number 10 is, what does my body say to me? So here's the thing. No matter how sincerely we want to adhere to what our religious story is and what the expectations are of us, our body may not agree. And so if you are struggling with an autoimmune disorder, gastric issues, migraines, all sorts of things that your body does when it's not okay within, we're going to take a hardcore look at that and what most recent research says about what your tummy, your heart, your head, all different things that your body is saying. If you are not living in peace with your body, you're not going to be okay and you're not going to be at peace. And so we take a look at that as well. And the conclusion of the entire book is, how do I find peace? So now we're integrating all 10 chapters into one tiny little box. Not a box, I'm setting you free. And where you can use all those chapters together to really find yourself and how you can love yourself and how you can better love others. Now, at the end of each chapter, I include some journal questions so you can really do some hard depth looking at, CBT, negative cognitions about yourself and what to do with them. I look at the autonomic ladder that Stephen Porgal put together about how can I help myself feel safe, because until I do that, I'm not going to be okay. I take a look at all sorts of, DBT principles and healthy things that you can do with, EMDR principles and bilateral movement all along the way. And so this is going to be a safe book to read as you really delve into some hard concepts. And finally, at the end is the very first chapter of my next book, which I'm writing with my aunt. I cannot wait for you to read it. It is a book that is written based upon chapter 3. And so when you read chapter 3, you're going to be like, okay, there's more to the story and I want to know what it is. And so I look forward to you taking a look at that. It would mean so much to me, and I hope to you as well, to be able to look at this book and see how it relates to your life. It was written with a lot of love, and my hope for you is that you learn to love yourself and you learn to love others more because you read this book. Thank you for your time.